Hey there, race fans. It's race day, top five with me, Frank Five. And by the way, I apologize for the sunburn. I graduated in college yesterday, and I was outside ceremony and didn't apply sunscreen. But that's enough about that. Anyways, Monster Mile racing on the famous concrete track in Dover, Delaware. Side by side action. If you make one mistake, Miles the Monster will just reach out and grab you. But today, he couldn't tackle Hendrick Motorsports. What a dominant performance. Let's get into this incredible historic day for Hendrick Motorsports and the whole organization. Number one, Alex Bowman picks up his second win of the season. His fourth career win, winning today's Dryden 400 at Dover Speedway in the Monster Mile, winning it over teammates Kyle Larson, Chase Elliott, William Byron, and the Ford of Joey Logano. Yes, a 1-2-3-4 for Hendrick Motorsports. The first time for this organization. I mean, we've seen in the past, Hendrick Motorsports wins almost every single year. All four drivers win, but they've never had a 1-2-3-4 finish. The last team to do that was Roush, back when they had 5 cars and were really competitive in 2005 in the finale at Homestead, where Greg Biffle beat Mark Martin, Matt Kenseth, and Carl Edwards in the finale in that season. Hendrick Motorsports, Alex Bowman put on a really good performance today. Bowman was hanging around the top 10 for the majority of the race. Then by the end of stage 2 and by the beginning of stage 3, he fought his way up into the top 5 and competed with Kyle Larson for the majority of the race. He definitely had a lot of speed in the race car. Greg Ives knows how to give Bowman these really solid race cars, especially on the tracks where it's low downforce, high horsepower package, where a lot of the racing this year has been very fun to watch, and it seemed like it was a relatively good race for the most part today. Alex Bowman's crew just nailed the perfect pit stop on the last time that most of the drivers came to pit road in the race, where Alex Bowman was able to beat out his teammate Kyle Larson and led the rest of the way and never looked back. There were a couple cautions, but they didn't decide to pit. They stayed out, and he just kept driving away and brought the famous number 48 car back to victory lane at Dover National Speedway. It's the first time we're seeing somebody not named Jimmy Johnson drive the 48 car to victory lane in Dover. Of all the 11 wins that we've seen Jimmy Johnson have over the years, this is a pretty big accomplishment for Bowman to be following in Johnson's footsteps to carry on the legacy that the 48 car has at Dover. Maybe it was a good idea that Bowman was going to be put as the driver of the 48 car. Honestly, though, I felt like either one of those drivers, him or Kyle Larson in that 48 car, would have been very, very solid at Dover regardless. But Alex Bowman did it today. It's the first time he has a season where he has more than just one win. Very important for Alex Bowman and this whole organization because they started out the year sluggish. Then they picked up a big win at Richmond when he came in late in a pit stop and got caught for speeding, but fought his way back late in the going and just nailed the restart late in the going when Logano and Hamlin battled each other really, really hard, and Bowman took advantage of it and just kept going and didn't look back and brought the 48 back to victory lane for the first time since 2017. And this was the first time since 2017 at Dover Speedway where the 48 car won a race. So big accomplishment for Alex Bowman and Greg Ives together on a weekend where NASCAR announced also that there's no mask mandate for the outdoor events at the racetrack or in interviews with the drivers. Same goes for the people that work down in the pits. But when you're in the haulers and in buildings, you're going to have to still wear your mask until that stuff gets lifted. But congrats to Alex Bowman on this big win. Carrying on the 48 legacy at Dover, that's a big accomplishment. Number 2, Kyle Larson had the dominant car today. Won both stages. Led over 260 plus laps. But came close in the end. As I mentioned, Alex Bowman beat him out on the last pit stop that most of the cars had, including Hendrick cars in general. Larson kept within Bowman for the majority of the last part of the race, but unfortunately he was never able to get around him, which kind of hurt his chances because clean air, especially here at this track, really makes a difference on the speed of your car and the performance of it. So Larson, when he had it earlier, nobody could touch him. Even though he had a couple challenges from his Hendrick teammates, he was in complete control. But by the time that last pit stop around lap 304 for those Hendrick cars came around, didn't beat the 48 car out because the 48 had the fastest pit stop of the year out of any team so far this year at 12.1 seconds. That's a big accomplishment. But Larson said in his post-race interview, he wasn't totally disappointed with second place. He said it was still a great result for the whole team around. Would he have loved to win? Sure. But for him to say second still isn't bad definitely shows a lot of maturity within Kyle Larson, especially in his return to NASCAR after his mistake from the previous year. Larson definitely is becoming a much better person mentally and emotionally, and that's going to make him even stronger as the season goes on. Number 3, Chase Elliott, third place finish for today. Great, solid result because Elliott had to start at the rear of the field for the second time in a row this week because he failed pre-race tech twice, not because of unapproved adjustments from last week. He had to start at the rear for failing pre-race tech twice, but he flew his way through the field. He got all the way up to the top 5 by stage 1, and most of stage 2, he played second fiddle to Kyle Larson running in second place. He put a couple challenges on him, but really wasn't able to get in front and lead the race at all. But regardless, I felt confident coming into this race that Elliott was going to do well because this track is one of his, basically his average finish out of all the NASCAR circuits. This place is number 1. When he first came to this track in 2016, he hit it off from when he first hit the racetrack in a Cup car. Finished 3rd in both races in 2016, finished 5th in the spring of 2017, and almost won the fall race, but lost out to Kyle Busch. Spring race in 2018, the new Camaro, he finished top 15. Then we went back in the fall and he won. Went back to the spring in 2019, he finished top 5. In the fall race, he blew up. I won't get into that anymore. And then both races we had in the same weekend last year, 5th place on Saturday, last place on Sunday after a crash. Today, really solid result for the 9 team. 3 top 10s in a row for this organization. And now they're heading into a track upcoming weekend where we're all excited about, but I know he is because it's a road course, and Elliott is the king of road courses. But all in all, execution and performance by the 9 team today, very solid all around. Number 4, William Byron was very fast off the get-go like Kyle Larson, running up towards the front. He led a couple of laps before Larson overtook him. Byron definitely looked like early he had a car that could compete with Larson, but he had developed an issue in the middle of the race where he almost had no brakes whatsoever. And especially when you're trying to come onto this tricky pit road, if it had to be under green, Byron would have screwed himself and probably got a speeding penalty. But luckily, we had mostly pit stops under the yellow flag today. There really wasn't any green flag stops except for a couple of guys pitting late because they had a loose wheel under green, so that happened to some guys. Not that 24 car. Stayed up there all day long, fell back to the lower as 10th or 11th at one point, but fought his way back up to complete the top 4 for Hendrick Motorsports. It was a great result all around. By the way, 11 top 10 in a row for William Byron. Ladies and gentlemen, for all the people a couple years ago that were laughing at William Byron was a joke to fit in the 24 car, how do you feel right now? I'm thinking you're probably regretting commenting about how bad Byron was when he got into the Cup Series. Don't get me wrong, he definitely struggled, but he got better in 2019 when he made the playoffs. And then last year he won his first Cup race. And this year he already has another Cup win, but he's running on a much more consistent basis than what I've seen in previous years. And I think it's all again because of Rudy Fugle, his crew chief from the Truck Series in the past. Now with him in the Cup Series, they're hitting it off. It's literally like we're seeing Jimmy Johnson, Chad Canals 2.0 with these guys. They're just consistent every single week. We could argue Kyle Larson's the best car at Hendrick right now, even though we still have the Cup champ, and Bowman just picked up his second win of the season. But if I had to go from a consistent standpoint right now, 24 William Byron's the best car at Hendrick. I mean that. I'm just seeing the consistency of that kid and the maturity of this kid. He can win a Cup championship. If he can put it together in the postseason, William Byron could be beginning his dynasty for Hendrick Motorsports. The Chase Elliott dynasty has begun. And Kyle Larson can have his dynasty begin, and Alex Bowman. But we also want every Hendrick car to be competitive. In the last couple of years, it's been 3 Hendrick cars mostly, or 2. One of them, obviously, Chase Elliott. And the other 2 are like, okay, but not so great. But it seems like everybody in Hendrick this year is hitting it off. And that's just what we want to see. It's the first time, honestly, since back when Hendrick had Jeff Gordon, Jimmy Johnson, Dale Jr., and Casey Kane as the driver lineup. All 4 of those guys were competitive every single year. And the majority of those years, all 4 of them made the playoffs and at least won a race. So these guys are hitting it off. And this young crop of Hendrick kids is just what Mr. H needed. And number 5, a lot of comers and goers within the race today. As Hendrick dominated the majority of the race, I mean, they led 382 of the 400 laps. Holy moly! I guess Miles was afraid to reach out and try to, curse the Hendrick cars. He said he wanted to curse other people. Kevin Harvick was one of the best of the Fords today, but late in the going, Joey Logano benefited from pitting late for fresh tires and fought his way up to 5th place, as I mentioned. Tyler Reddick ran a top 10 today. He ran up front all day long. Daniel Suarez and Trackhouse Racing. This team just continues to amaze me with how much they've accomplished. This is the brand new team with the Richard Childress Alliance with cars and engines, and they're getting the job done. There's been some races where they've had good race cars, but didn't get the results. Today, they had a relatively good race, and he was able to get himself another top 10. I think this is like his 4th top 10 at this track. I mean, Suarez must really love Dover. Too bad we won't come back to their second time this year because one of the dates has been given to National Speedway. Denny Hamlin was probably the best of the Toyotas today, even though Martin Truex Jr. started on the pole. He fell back because he had a little damage at the front of his car and never really fought back and finished 19th a lap down. Never thought I would see that at Truex at Dover or a short track in general. Kyle Busch struggled early today. He had engine problems, but luckily he fixed the issue with a spark plug, it looked like. But unfortunately, he had to settle for finishing 7 laps down in the top 30. Matt DiBenedetto really struggled bad today, which is not good for the points. Bubba Wallace ran up towards the top 10 in the end, but had to settle for, I think, an 11th place or 12th place run. Cole Custer was quiet all day, and he got a 10th place finish. Bravo! 2 Stewart-Haas cars in the top 10, because I won't get into the other 2, especially Eric Almirola. Boy, that guy's having a tough year. Brian Keselowski was up front a couple times, but he fell back a little bit late. Austin Dillon was up front a lot today. There were so many comers and goers today, especially with pit stops and, handling was a big factor today. I mean, the Hendrick cars hit it off with handling today. They were all perfect. Everybody else, they had their struggles, but some were able to overcome it, some not so much, but that's what racing is all about. And it was good to have a nice weekend at Dover, and the fans were in attendance, so it was good to see them. A really nice crowd, honestly, for COVID restrictions. Hopefully by next year when we come back in May, it's at full capacity, and hopefully we get more people there, because I still think Dover's an interesting and exciting racetrack because the restarts are fun with side-by-side action. These guys gripping the wheels and guys on the inside can get loose and nearly take a guy out in the outside lane. Don't want that, especially off of turn 2 and 4 of the uphill climb in a way. So with the banking, it sends you up kind of like up a hill or going up a mountain. But it's a good racetrack, and hopefully by next year we have more fans in attendance at this race without any COVID restrictions whatsoever. So that's it from the Monster Mile, and up next is a new circuit for NASCAR, Circuit of the Americas in Austin, Texas, where Formula One and IndyCar have competed in the past, and I look forward to seeing who's going to come out on the top. Will it be the road course king and Chase Elliott? Will it be Christopher Bell after he won the Daytona road course this year? Will it be our Daytona 500 winner, Michael McDowell, who also is a good road course racer? Or will it be Denny Hamlin, Martin Truex, Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Kyle Busch, Brad Keselowski, Kyle Larson, William Byron, Alex Bowman, Kurt Busch, the normal suspects? It's going to be a fun race. This thing is going to be so exciting. I can't wait. And hopefully we have a great crowd in attendance. I mean, it is in Texas, which things kind of are open down there as well. So I wouldn't be shocked if we almost had a full crowd. So it's going to be a fun weekend. I cannot wait for COTA next weekend. It's going to be a blast. Not wait to see what kind of action and unpredictability this race will bring to us race fans all across the country. So subscribe, like, congrats again to Alex Bowman, congrats to Mr. H on a 1, 2, 3, 4 finish for this organization, a big accomplishment. I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Stay safe, and God bless you all.